Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, how is ya? Hope you're having a great start to your day. We're always thrilled to have you come on with us, and we appreciate it big time. Those who can make it live. And we always have a roll call and say hello to our dear friends that follow us on a daily basis. We appreciate that, and thank you for everyone coming on that is new. And Michael, you're number one this morning, and Andrea and Tina. Was Brahim there? He might have been. I didn't see it. I was talking. Janice, how are you? Carol from West Virginia, and Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota, and Madeleine from Kippawa, Quebec. Nick from our staff. Nativity, good morning to you. And Jocelyn, bonjour, Sturgeon Falls. Donna, how are you? And April, nice to have you on. Keith, there you are. How are you, my friend? Faye, Terrace, BC. Frida, good morning. Sandy, Vancouver, Washington. Jeanette, bonjour. Yolande, bonjour. Maria, Ottawa. And Maxine, good morning to you. Gary, Bolton. And Annette, how are you? Rosalinda from the Kidneys of Canada, Niagara Falls. Sherry. Gloria, how are you? Fran from Orangeville. And Brandon, how are you? Craig, Indiana. Okay, Jeanette. Nellie. Top of the morning to you. Wendy, how are you? Catherine, Parksville, British Columbia. Denise, are you still in the South? Patricia. Elana from New York, how are you? Peggy, good morning to you. Lori from SUDZ, where's that? Judy, Manitoba. Milica, good morning from Stouffville. Wanda from Virginia. And Arlene, how is you? Elsie, good morning. And Marlo from Ottawa. And who is that? I missed it. Rhoda, Labrador. Judy. And Lise, bonjour. And Maureen, good morning to you. Okay, we got a lot of good questions. Better get going. Etta, how are you? Joanne from Eganville. Dave from Cardiff. Diane from Jackson's Point. Denise is in the Dominican. Okay, that's what I thought. Sue. And Janice. Another polar vortex coming? Georgie. Two Georgies, honestly. Two Georgies in a row. Deb. Miriam. How are you, Miriam? Moses. From the parting the Red Sea. No, from California. How are you? Rita. Tina. Good morning to you. Okay. And Janine. And who is that? I couldn't. I think that was Maureen. Kathy. Okay, guys, let's get to the questions. Sorry if I missed you. I really didn't mean to. Suzanne's asking a question. Okay, my son-in-law has difficult time breathing. He has nasal polyps and really bad sinuses. He's already had 2 operations. The last one was in February of 2022. Now they want to do another one, or give him a needle that costs $10,000 a month. Holy smokes. What kind of needle is that? They're going to cost you $10,000 a month. Listen, I can tell you, Suzanne, I'm very confident of this. What your son-in-law has, chronic sinusitis like that with polyps, he's got a fungal infection in his sinuses. He has yeast coming out the wazoo. Guaranteed. I've seen it 1,000 times in my practice. Chronic sinusitis is fungal. And then what happens? Okay, here's what happens. Generally, I'll give you the case history of your son-in-law without even knowing him or ever have seen him. He got a sinus infection. He was given an antibiotic. Yeah, might have cleared up the infection, but it started a fungal infection. Yeast started to get into the lining of his sinuses. And now he's got a fungal infection. And fungus is an invasive species. When it gets into your sinuses, into your lungs, can travel up to the brain, yeast can go everywhere, and you can't see it. It's microscopic, and it ain't no fun. Okay? It ain't no fun. And guess what? Sugar feeds it. So what you need to do, Suzanne, is if you can convince your son-in-law to get on the reset, absolutely no sugar to feed the yeast, and he might have to go past 30 days because yeast is very hardy. They're like rabbits. They multiply and multiply and multiply, these little microorganisms, and they invade. And so, like I said, his sinuses would be covered with this, okay? And it's like mold. It loves moisture. Remember, fungus is a cousin to mold. How do you get mold? Well, where it's wet, bathrooms, basement, leaky basement, whatever, you get mold, right? Well, the same way fungus loves moisture. That's why it loves sinuses. And it'll get into the frontal sinuses too, above the eyes, and you're constantly. So you got to dry it up. You got to get on broad spectrum probiotics that have L. reuteri and L. rhamnosus, those particular bacteria, friendly bacteria on your side. They're very, very aggressive to go against yeast. Take months. Oil of oregano. I would actually, okay, use oil of oregano, take a Q-tip, 3 or 4 drops of oil of oregano on a Q-tip, and put that Q-tip, and it's almost like Chinese torture for a minute. And you put the Q-tip up your nasal passage, and you inhale it. Let the oil of oregano, and you can actually put a little bit of probiotic powder, open up a capsule. And remember, our probiotics are soil-based, and they last forever. And that's why you can put a little bit of that powder in the sinuses. I'm telling you, it's a very aggressive treatment, but you got to do it, man. And that's what I believe it is. Now, you had another question about yourself. Oh, yeah, you know what it is? It was anal, or I don't know if it was you, Susan, but you asked question number 2. What is the recommendation if you have an anal fissure, small tears in the anus? No fun? Same thing. What do you got there? What is there at the anus? You got a fungal there. You have a yeast overgrowth. And when you get that, it causes little tearings and no fun. Now, you could have an impacted hair follicle. That can cause trouble sometimes there. But generally what I've seen, that's yeast. Again, oil of oregano, no fun. But you got to kill. Broad spectrum probiotic, and open up a powder. Make a little bit of sap. And kill the fungus. Thank you, Susan, for the question. Teresa, what is the best way to handle a tortuous colon, diverticulosis with the occasional diverticulitis? Well, look, let me give you a history, Teresa, okay? I'll tell you why you got this. Because maybe not now, but a long time ago, okay? Antibiotics were involved. Damages. Kills all the good bacteria. Number 2, and I'm talking about number 2 now. You were consuming, Teresa, way too much fiber, okay? And you were told to do that, but the worst thing you can do in the colon is have too much fiber, because fiber irritates. I'll tell you, people with diverticulosis, I used to say to them, okay, you're not a rabbit. What? You're eating too much salad. You like salad? Yeah. I said, well, I don't like you. And where does spinach get caught? What, Doc? What are you talking about? When you eat spinach, where does it get caught often? In the teeth. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm talking and somebody said, you got spinach in your teeth. I said, you know where that gets caught too? It gets caught in your colon. And it irritates. And those people, okay, I used to say, you ain't a rabbit and you ain't a squirrel. Because squirrel lives on nuts and seeds. You ain't a squirrel. And nuts and seeds will irritate your bowel. Stop it. Okay? I know I'm dramatic, guys. But I used to tell my patients, stop it. You're irritating your bowel. Too much fiber. I know, but Doc, everybody told me I need more fiber. No, fiber is what caused it. Plus, you ain't a rabbit. You don't have the enzymes to break all those down. And secondly, you ain't a squirrel. Now, I'm not saying you can never have another nut in your life. Well, if you got diverticulosis, you don't want to have any more nuts in your life. Stop it. And you need to get on broad-spectrum probiotics. You need to get on a bone broth to regenerate that bowel, which has a very high level of L-glutamine. And I'd have you on our Digest Ease because of mucilages, and with slippery elm and all the other ingredients we put in it, and you recoat the gut. Okay? Thanks for the question. And you're not a squirrel and you ain't a rabbit. Teresa. Okay? Sarah's asking about, is the only solution to painful kidney stones is surgery? Well, maybe. It depends. Now, you know me and kidneys, guys. Okay? 2 things for kidneys. You need water. And 2, you need to cut out sugars, because sugar is very hard on the kidneys. And I'll tell you one of the things that I used to see, depending on what type of stone was there. Is it oxalate, which is 75%, or is it uric acid stones? So if you can find out, Sarah, a little bit different, each one. But oxalate stones, stop eating vegetables like they're the only source of food. You can have a few, but there's too much oxalates. Do you drink tea? Stop it. Oxalates. Drink coffee instead. Because if they're calcium oxalates, okay? And usually, another thing, usually when I see that, okay, they weren't taking enough vitamin K2, which takes calcium and puts it where it belongs. Vitamin K2. Now, okay, you eat vitamin K2 when you eat eggs, meat, and cheese. You see, God put vitamin K2 in your food. so it can deal with calcium. Calcium's wonderful, guys. You need calcium, but it needs to get to its intended destination, which is your bones. You don't want calcium stones. You don't want calcium in your bloodstream. It'll harden your arteries. You want calcium to hit its intended destination. It needs vitamin K2 with that. That's how you know, guys. This is one of the proving factors on food. Okay? Listen to this for a second. And you guys, most of you know this. Vitamin K2 is found in the animal kingdom. Okay? In eggs, meat, and cheese, dairy, steak, hamburger, even a little bit of chicken. Okay? So, there's calcium in cheese. True or false? Well, there's lots of calcium in cheese. There's a lot of calcium in butter. True or false? True. But because that's the way the food is made, like butter, it's got a lot of K2 with it. K2 takes the calcium from the food and puts it in where it belongs. Got the memo? So a lot of people, they don't realize that. They get calcium oxalate kidney stones. One, they're dehydrated, usually. Whenever I saw it in my office, they were dehydrated. Secondly, they were vegetable lovers, meaning that they had more vegetables in their diet than they had eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? That's why, guys, in our vitamin D, we put K2 in it. That's why. Okay? Good question. Let me get to another one. Let me see here. That was Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for the question. Judith, how much salt do you recommend I take each day on the reset? Well, look, you're going to drink 64 ounces of water, right? At least. And, right, 2 liters. Add salt to your water. I like Himalayan salt. It could be a good Celtic salt. Like, no problem with that. Just make sure it's a natural salt, not sodium chloride, not the stripped away minerals table salt that we have today. Get a good salt, a good pink salt or whatever, and add a pinch to your water. And then every time you're eating, put some salt on your food. And you know a good way to get good sodium is drink some pickle juice. Somebody asked me about pickle juice yesterday. I said, it's wonderful. Salty. Okay. Thank you. Judith. I don't put a number on it, Judith. If you're asking me how many grams or I don't know. I never measured. Salt ain't your problem. Sugar is. So measure sugar and don't have any. Okay. Thank you, Judith. Elaine, is it okay for me to take the multi-nutrient, which used to be called the blood boost, considering I have a type of leukemia? Well, even more so. Guys, listen. The multi-nutrient. Take the bottle out. If you can read the label, good luck. It's the rules, guys, in Canada. We got to put everything there in English and in French. Okay? It's just the rules. So what do you want me to do? I put so much stuff. That formula, you can't, look, it's not just it's got every vitamin, every mineral. I love putting, nutrients in there, including protein. Guys, it's tremendous. And if you got leukemia, you need it. Absolutely. Okay? It is so good for you. Very good for you. So absolutely. And don't be shy, guys. You look at our product. If you're not sure how to take it, if you're not sure what to do, if you're not sure, send us, either on our private Facebook group, put out the question, or send in an email to info@martinclinic.com, okay? Or go on our website and get a chat. We got chat. Okay. martinclinic.com. Okay, Vince. Hi, Vince. Do men need to raise progesterone in order to increase their testosterone? Well, no, you don't have to raise your progesterone, okay? Men have some progesterone, believe it or not, okay? No, the best way to elevate your testosterone is to elevate your vitamin D, the sun, preferably, but otherwise, you need to take a supplement of vitamin D. Okay, what I do, I take about 10,000 IUs a day. If I feel a cold coming on, I hammer it. I'm a hammer. I'm going to hammer that virus. And the research is very good on that. Okay, I'll do 50,000 IUs a day for 3 days. Hammer it. Unbelievable. Then, but to raise testosterone, eat steak. Sun, steak, and steel. That'll raise your testosterone. Progesterone, you don't want to raise your progesterone in a man. You want to decrease your estrogen, though. Okay? You might want to dim out your estrogen. Okay? I did that with a lot of men. Guys, you know when I was talking about don't eat too many seeds? But I like flax seeds. Flax seeds lower your estrogen, men and women. And we live in an estrogen-dominated world. That's why men today are, it's unbelievable, guys, when you see the statistic on sperm counts and testosterone levels in men, incredibly low today. Why? Too much estrogen. You know, I don't care where you live. You're surrounded by xenoestrogens. It's in the environment. You know, folks, I'm going to be political for 5 seconds here, okay? Let me be political. I get a migraine because they don't seem to be too worried about the environment. They don't seem to be worried about that. With all the plastics and all the chemicals and all the things that mimic estrogen that are giving us cancers and making us sick. No, they're more worried about the climate. And I don't believe for a second that man can affect the climate. I live in Northern Ontario. It's winter. It's always been winter. For the 70 years that I've been on, 70, coming on 73. Guys, I can't stand it. It gives me migraines. We spend all carbon time. Let's worry about the environment. That's what I want to worry about. Men aren't even men anymore because of all the plastics and all the xenoestrogens and the pesticides and the herbicides and all the stuff they put in our food. We're swimming in it. The oceans are full of it. Anyway, I didn't mean to get political. Yes, I did. I can't stand it. Okay. I hope I didn't offend anyone. Okay? I didn't mean to be offensive. I just tell the truth, guys. Tell the truth. Okay, that was a good question, and that was Vince. Maria. Okay, Maria, what is your question for me? Okay, Maria is asking about her 14-year-old daughter. Testing showed, one test showed she had Lyme's, the other test showed she didn't. Guys, I've addressed this before, but let me do it again. Lyme's disease is a tick. You get a tick. And it's real. And it can, for some people, they have a very, very good immune system. And, you know, the tick, it don't even bother them. Some people got tested for Lyme's. They had Lyme's and they had no symptoms and they weren't sick at all. And then you get other people that are very sick, that are very unwell. And sometimes the Lyme test is positive, and even with some negative. You know what? Here, okay, I get patients coming in, okay? They say, Doc, I think I got Lyme's, but I can't get it diagnosed. I said, well, okay, but let's assume. I used to do this. Let's assume you have Lyme's. Okay? Let's assume you do. You got all the symptoms. And that can be chronic fatigue syndrome too. But let's go back to Lyme's. You got a bug. Look, medicine, the way they treat it, antibiotic. And look, sometimes that works, but most times, no. Okay? Maybe a little bit better. And then you got full-blown Lyme's and you're unwell. Okay? Here's what I do. Here's what I used to do in my office. When I was in my practice days, I was a big guy on holistic. Look at the whole picture. And I would check and see, okay, usually with Lyme's, you got leaky gut. You got to fix that. Okay? Usually with Lyme's, you got an overgrowth of yeast. You got to fix that. You got to no sugar. You got to go on the reset. You got to be strict with food. We're going to build an environment where that bug can't live anymore because it affects everything else in your body. It can affect your thyroid. In women, it can affect your hormones, your hormones. The reset will help that. So food, they were usually low in vitamin D. They were usually low in B12. And I would fix all of those things. So I had a protocol with Lyme's. And it was successful, but it wasn't easy. Because when you're not well, guess what food you're reaching for? You don't even, sometimes they were so sick they didn't feel like eating, so they were eating junk. And they were giving me a little bit of sugar. And I said, nah, you got to stop that because you're feeding the yeast that's taken over your body with Lyme's. And I was big on that. And broad spectrum probiotics and bone broth. And I had them on that multi-nutrient, big time helped. Okay? A blood boost that we used to call it. Okay, thank you very much. But just assume that your daughter has it. Like you're going to get conflicting. And again, medicine, it's antibiotics and, rounds of them. And you got a lot of side effects to that. I'm not telling you not to do stuff. I'm telling you what I would do. Okay? Thank you for the question, Maria. Assume that your daughter has it. Can a person have no white blood cells? No, you'll be dead. Read it. You got to have some. Now, you could have a leukemia. Can be way too much white blood cells and they're not doing anything. They're immature. I've seen that. Or very little. Okay? You can have a blood cancer. But if you got no white blood cells, you're not going to be on this planet long. It's just, how are you going to fight infection? You can't, Rita. Okay? And by the way, One of the best ways to build white blood cells and to supercharge them is vitamin D and vitamin A. Vitamin A, the forgotten vitamin. And you get it when you eat eggs, meat, and cheese. Not carrots. Not carrots. Carrots isn't vitamin A. Eggs, meat, and cheese is vitamin A. Proretinol A is found in the animal kingdom. Again, proof in the pudding that I'm right about what foods to emphasize. If you don't eat from the animal kingdom, you're giving me a migraine. Okay, but I still love you, and I mean that. I still love you. Okay, let's see here. That was a good question, Rita, because it got me to pontificate. Agnes, is arginine beneficial for seniors? Yeah, L-arginine is an amino acid, okay? It helps with, L-arginine really helps with nitric oxide, opens up your blood vessels. But you don't have to take L-arginine as a supplement, Agnes. You can eat it. And L-arginine is found again. Where is it found? I give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. It's found in vitamin S steak, the highest form. And you get it in eggs, meat, and cheese. L-arginine. Okay? It's important. I love L-arginine. But you don't need to take it as a supplement. You need to eat it. I want you to eat L-arginine. Okay. Cynthia is asking me, how much Navitol do you take a day? Well, I usually take a couple of capsules of Navitol a day. And by the way, I've only been doing it for 40 years. Anti-aging, antioxidant. Very good for circulation, microcirculation. Okay? I was showing a study to someone the other day on pine bark extract and tinnitus, and pine bark extract and vertigo. Because it gets into the middle ear and opens up and little blood vessels, circulation. Okay, thank you, Cynthia. I take usually about 2 a day. Now remember, our pine bark is like super packed with pine bark. Very high dose of it. And that's our exclusive blend of pine bark. It's exclusive. Guys, I've been studying pine bark for, like I said, almost 40 years. I've been around a long time. And I always compare everything. Any supplement. I mean, other than vitamin D and the vitamins. But if you give me a supplement, any supplement, I always, in my mind, always, and clinically, always compare it to Navitol, pine bark extract. And I'll tell you, there's nothing stronger than that. The research is incredible. You know, the problem with pine bark, okay, the extract, okay, if you're allergic to pine trees, that had nothing to do with that. This is an extract, okay? And I went to Europe. I gave lectures on pine bark in Europe, in Korea, in China. Okay? I went around the world because I wrote a book about it. The Bark with the Bite. It was a big seller a long time ago. Man, a long time ago. But guys, if you look at the research, you know, natural products, they don't get no praise because the pharmaceutical companies, they can't stand it. Okay? They can't stand it. So, it's not approved as a pharmaceutical. And who said it was a pharmaceutical? It's not a pharmaceutical. It's a natural product. But guys, the research on it is absolutely incredible. Okay? And that's why for me and clinically what I found. Okay? My wife said, if you ever run out of pine bark, I'm going to kill you. True story. And as you notice, I'm still alive. That means I never ran out of it. Okay? In my office. And then my wife would tell everybody and their dog, you need to get on this stuff. Okay? And it was hard to get. I had to bring it in from Europe originally. And in order to stay alive and not get killed. Okay? That was me. Okay. Okay, I think we will stop it there because we got a few more. Let me see how many more questions. Yeah, we got a fair amount of my questions here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're not going to get to, we're going to, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no. We got too many questions. Okay. So we're going to have Q&A Monday. How do you like them there apples, guys? We're going to do that on Monday. Okay, guys. Love you dearly and sincerely. You guys are the greatest audience in the world. The smartest. Okay? I'm pointing at you. It's you guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.